Hi, welcome to Camp Happy Mail. I'm Maureen and I'm glad you could join me today. Today we're going to make a card using a stamp set by Mama Elephant called Rainy Days. Now I've already gone ahead and stamped these images and I've colored them with Prismacolor color pencils just to save a little bit of time. There will be other videos that I do where I'll show you how I color. For the paper that we're going to use, it's Rain or Shine by Stampin' Up. It is retired at this point, but you can pretty much use any paper that you want to use. For my card, to go with the theme of the animals, I wanted to use something that had a little bit of a weather theme to it. And to make this an easy card, we're going to use a one-sheet wonder sketch by Jess Crass. It's sketch number 2. So the first thing that we need to do is to cut all the pieces so that we can assemble our card sketch. The trimmer that I'm using is made by Stampin' Up. This is a nice little portable trimmer. And there, so I'm going to put the sketch over here because I do find it easier to have the sketch actually in front of me for the dimensions. And inevitably, I do end up screwing up the dimensions on this, but here we go. So for the back panel, which is the long rectangle one, this piece of paper needs to be cut to 3 by 3.5. And you got to watch with pattern paper to make sure that you cut it so that your pattern is going the right way. Otherwise, like on this one, your raindrops could end up going sideways instead of downwards. And then for the, this is where I screwed it up. So for the pink stripe piece of paper, this was supposed to be 3.25 by 3.75. And I totally messed up the dimensions on this, and I cut this the size of the inner piece, which was 3 by 2.5. So you're going to see me messing this up, and it's really easy to mess this up. The way that the instructions are written, I just got confused, and it was late. So things happen, and it's just paper. That's the most important thing. So I'm going to continue to cut this the wrong size and not realize it until afterwards. And that piece, yeah, you're going to see here in a minute that it's actually not the right size. Oh, okay. Well, for now, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna jump back to the mat on the back piece. Man, this is out of order. So the mat on that back rectangle is supposed to be 3.25 by 3.75. So I'm just going to trim that up here. And that is Stampin' Up paper. I believe it's Melon Mambo, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So now I'm going to realize about this point that I've cut that back piece not completely right. That pink piece, either the pink pieces are off or the raindrops are off. I'm not quite sure which. And that seems okay. And that seems okay. So it's got to be the raindrop piece. Now, admittedly, it was late when I made this card. And my brain was pretty much done for the day. Yep, there's where it is. I cut that piece too short. So we're going to recut that raindrop piece to be 3 by 3.5. Okay. Much better. All right, now let's finish messing up this piece. You just have to laugh sometimes. It is just a card. It is just paper. Mistakes are going to happen. Or as they say, mistakes were made, and they certainly were. Now, rest assured, my friends, the fun and games did not end there. It was about this point that I realized that I had also cut this piece wrong. There's nothing wrong with the sketch. The instructions are perfectly clear. Jess does a great job with her sketches. It's just my brain wasn't doing a good job of following them. So I have sped this up some, but you're going to see that I end up cutting this piece several times because I kept mixing up the dimensions for the back piece, the matte piece, which should have been the stripes, and then that white piece, which should have been the front. And I go back and forth, and I've cut a couple of sheets of paper at this point. Yeah, sometimes this stuff just, and there we go, this stuff just doesn't work out. And I couldn't figure out for the life of me, what did I do wrong? But finally, I think we're going to get it. I think this time I might get it right. There we go. And at this point, I'm contemplating the meaning of life, and is this card really worth continuing? So being this far into this card and having cut several sheets of paper just to get this far, I decided that, yes, we are going to finish this card. So this is going to be an A2 size card. That's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And now I'm just checking and holding my breath, hoping that my pieces actually fit onto an A size card base. And they do, thank goodness. Okay, so now, now comes the fun part. The characters. Who doesn't love cute little critter characters? I can't talk today. So I was originally going to use that little character, and then I thought, I kind of want to use one of these ones, like that pink one. Gosh, I spent so much time cutting out that yellow one because of the ears that stick up. But this one, yeah, so I'm going to fussy cut this one. I'm not the best fussy cutter in the world, and we're going to speed this up so you don't see how bad I fussy cut. So we're going to get this cut out. And hey, Allie, if you're watching this, gosh, I wish I could take you up on your offer to fussy cut my stuff for me. But anyways, okay, so we got this little dude here cut out. Love the Little Critters by Mama Elephant. But this one, he needs an umbrella. And I always stamp like the full set, and then I'm stuck with, what one do I want to use? And it's a hard decision. And we're going to go for that green frog umbrella. Wouldn't you love to have a green frog umbrella? I just think that would be fantastic. Maybe we can get Mama Elephant to license some of those. So now I'm going to speed this up while I fussy cut the umbrella out. Not the easiest thing to cut out because of that skinny handle on it, but we're going to do the best we can with this. I don't have the dies for this set, and I've been doing nothing but fighting with my scan and cut lately, and I didn't want to risk messing these up with the scan and cut after I'd spent all the time coloring them, so we're just going to go with the fussy cutting on these. Now that I have my critters all cut out, I'm going to mess around with the placement of these a little bit. I do need to get a sentiment on here, and I have a really cute sentiment for this card. So I'm just checking out placing the umbrella on the left side, on the right side. And at one point, I really liked the bunny in the little yellow rain suit, the original image that I cut out. So I tried that one out with the umbrella, and I ultimately decided that I'm going to go with the gray kitty with the pink suit. So that's what we're going to go with. And I'm happy with that choice. So the next thing I'm going to do is, and I do this with all of the images, whether I die cut them out by hand, whether I fussy cut them, or whether I do them with a scan and cut. I like to go around the edges with a black Sharpie marker. This just gives the images just a little bit more of a finished look to them, rather than having the white border on them. And because I did fussy cut these, I didn't leave a white outline on them. So the sentiment that I'm going to use on this is actually one that comes with the set, and it says, "When life gives you a rainy day, play in the puddles." I just love that sentiment, and that was one of the things that I love most about this set. And then the cute critters. I mean, who doesn't love the cute critters? So I'm going to go ahead and pull out the Misti, which is a stamping platform, and we're going to stamp that sentiment on here. Now, I do fuss with this quite a bit, just to make sure that I get the placement right, because it is a small piece and the sentiment is rather large. I should have strayed from the dimensions of the card sketch, but I didn't measure the sentiment ahead of time. So I'm really just trying to squeeze these three elements in here without it looking too cluttered. And I'm going to mess with this quite a bit just to make sure that I get it where I need it to be. And then this is the first part of it. So we're going to go ahead and pull this off on the lid. And you've seen me do this dozens of times, and I'm sure that you know how to use a stamping platform. But if you don't, this is what you do. So that stamp is now over on the lid, and I'm going to use Momento Tuxedo Black. You can use any black ink; it doesn't really matter. Since the coloring is already done on this, you can use whatever black ink you want. So we're going to stamp this down. You don't need to give this a lot of pressure. I do have a tool to press down on this, and I always forget to use it. And I end up just using my sleeve or my fingers or whatever. So I am going to double stamp this. And that's the beautiful thing about a stamping platform, is if your imprint isn't as dark as you would like it to be, you can just do it again and again and again and again if you want. So now that I've got this sentiment on there, I'm going to put our critter back on here because I want to add a puddle for this little kitty to be jumping in. And this part takes a little bit of fussing because the puddle is actually in two pieces. So I'm just trying to figure out, where do I want my critter to be? And then where do I want that puddle to be? And the puddle pieces are really small. And because they are acrylic or photopolymer or whatever these things are made out of, they tend to stick to my fingers. And you'll see that here. I struggle a little bit with getting these things in place and keeping them in place and trying to figure out the placement. And sometimes this is just a little bit fussy when you're adding extra details in like this. But I thought that the little puddle was necessary because of the sentiment and the fact that, you know, the little kitty's wearing a raincoat and has an umbrella. And so I just wanted to kind of complete the scene a little bit more. Now, yeah, I could have freehanded the puddle in there. And I realized that after the fact. And I also realized that I probably could have put those pieces on an acrylic block and stamped them in there by hand. But like I said in the beginning, it was late whenever I did this. And I just didn't think. I just thought, well, I have the stamping platform out, so let's just do it this way. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp these down. And I believe that there's one other part I'm going to add to this, which is like a raindrop of some kind, or a puddle splash, perhaps. So again, just checking the placement, making sure everything is where I need it to be, because we're going to put in that little puddle splash. And that's another tiny little piece. That one didn't quite work. That was actually 2 drops. So I'm going to pull out the one that's just 1 drop of a splash. And again, I'm going to try to line this up on here without moving it because it sticks to my fingers. Does anybody have any tricks for placing little things and not having them stick to their fingers? That's something I always struggle with. Even whenever I'm doing sentiment stamps, if I try to line them up, I end up with them sticking to my fingers, and then they go crooked, and then I have to realign them. So, okay, so same as before, we're just going to stamp this with the Momento Tuxedo Black, and we're going to stamp this, and then that's going to be it for the stamping. So this centerpiece is almost done. We do need to do some assembly here. So I'm going to go ahead and glue our pattern paper onto that solid color piece. And yeah, glue, 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 glue. I kind of wish that the raindrops on this were blue instead of yellow. I'm not sure why they decided to make the raindrops yellow. They didn't use a whole lot of blue in this pattern paper, but there was some. So, I mean, they could have easily made them yellow, or blue rather. So I don't know why they made them yellow. So now onto this piece. I'm going to pull out the Prismacolors because I need to color that puddle. And I'm just going to pick a couple of shades of blue. The shades are not actually important. You can color it any color of blue you want. And I'm wondering if maybe I should have, colored it yellow to match those raindrops. Yeah, now I'm just being silly. Okay, so we're just going to use that blue color, and we're going to color in that puddle so that our little kitty is actually jumping into something that doesn't just look like a hole in the paper. And this is just basic coloring. I'm not doing anything fancy. I do come back in with a darker color and just give it a little bit more of a shadow in places, but Nothing fancy. And there's the dark blue, just a little bit. So now we're going to go ahead and glue these pieces onto our card base. And again, I'm checking to make sure they fit. I mean, they fit a little while ago. They should still fit now. I always do that. I always double check the placement on everything before I glue it down. I don't know why I do that. But if you've watched any of my videos, you'll notice that I tend to lay things out several times as I'm building them. I guess I just want to make sure that the placement is absolutely what I wanted it to be. Maybe that's just me. Do you do that? Do you rebuild and rebuild and rebuild as you're building a card? Okay, so we're going to lay this piece down. And then the last thing, well, next to the last thing that we have to do is to pop up this little kitty with his umbrella, or her umbrella. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl. It could be either, I guess. So these are dimensionals by Stampin' Up. And I am using some of the bits and pieces off of the edges. That's the great thing about the dimensionals is you can use every bit of foam squares, foam hexagons in this case, including the outer frame. You just cut them to make them smaller, and absolutely nothing goes to waste. And there we go, putting our little kitty in the puddle. I love it. And that umbrella, man, I just love the umbrella. So we're going to go ahead and what are we going to do? Are we going to pop it up? Or are we going to glue it down? I don't remember what I did. We are going to pop it up. Oh, using the little dimensionals. So Stampin' Up makes two sizes of dimensionals. There's the large and the small. I used pieces of the large ones on the kitty. And then these are the tiny ones. The beautiful thing about the Stampin' Up dimensionals is they're all the same height, whether you use the large ones or the small ones. So you can mix and match like I did here. And I didn't think that the big ones would fit onto this piece. So that's why I'm using the tiny little ones. I love the dimensionals, but I also love Scrapbook.com's foam squares, especially their 1 millimeter ones. They're not quite as high as these ones are. But this is just what I happen to have out on my desk, so this is what I used. And now we're going to give that little kitty its umbrella. And that's going to be the card, pretty much. Oh, I need to draw in the rest of the puddle line, so the water doesn't fall out of it. So the very last thing that I'm going to do with this is, we're going to clean up the desk. So the last thing I'm going to do, and what I like to do with all of my cards, is I like to stamp the back. Now I have a couple of custom stamps that I've had made by Magnuson. I'll put a link in my description for this company. They have a bunch of pre-made designs that you can pick from, and that's how I did all of mine. But they also, if you design your own, they'll create it for you. So this is just my final touch. And I have probably 5 or 6 stamps from them in various forms of my name. This one, I happen to use both my first and my last name on it because this will probably be donated or go to somebody else that they can give it away to somebody. And that, my friends, is our card for today. So thank you for sticking with me through this one. I hope you had as much fun as I did with it. And we'll see you in the next video.